I'm going to show you how you can make a blueprint using local, which can be handy for creating quick WordPress sites for testing out stuff like full site editing or plugin development and stuff like that. So the first thing you want to do is you want to install local, and if you go to localwp.com, you can download it. Just click the link here and it'll ask you some questions and so forth. Anyway, I've got one that's already installed right here, and I've actually created a couple of sites, but I'm going to create a new one for you. So to add a local site, just click over here, add a local site. And the first thing it's going to ask you is what's your site name. And so I'm going to just type in new blueprint. And I could just click continue, but if you were wondering what these advanced options are, what this does is basically you can change the domain name, you can set where on your hard drive you want it located, and then this next question right here is important. It asks create a site from a blueprint, and normally it would say don't use a blueprint, but if I select it, I've got blueprint. Now I actually have a site called Blueprint, and so don't get confused by that, but we're just going to leave it as default and click continue, and then just pick the preferred environment. If you want to change it to something custom, you can do things like change the PHP versions. You might have to download a copy of PHP. You can change to a different version of MySQL, different web server, but we'll just use preferred. Click continue, and then the worst password and username in the world with admin, and never ever use this on a live site. So if you're ever thinking of transferring this over, like migrating this over, don't use this username or password. Use something legitimate. I'm only using this because I have no intention of uploading this anywhere. And then there's some advanced options here. The only question is it a multi-site? I'm going to leave that as no. And then WordPress email. You can change this to a real email address if you want. There is a feature in the local app that allows you to send emails, at least detect if it's working or not. But I'm just going to leave this alone as it is. I'm going to click add site. Okay, so there we go. We've got a new site running, and if I click the admin button and type in worst possible thing in the world, there we go. I've got my WordPress instance all ready to go, and it's running the 2022 theme using full site editing. Now I'm going to use the main purpose of showing you how to do this is so that you could experiment with full site editing, which takes a little bit getting used to, but I see a lot of potential for it. Anyway, so now we got that installed. I could now go over here, and if I wanted to save this as a blueprint, I could right click and save it as a blueprint for later. But I'm not going to do that yet, because what I want to do is get some extra stuff installed. The first thing I want to do is get some test data installed. So let's go back to visit the site. You notice there's only one post showing up here. And if I go to posts, you see only one post. There's only 2 pages, the sample page and privacy policy. So I want to get some more information in here. The other thing is that the media library is empty. So if you go to, if you do a search for WordPress theme unit test, it will show you a link to an XML file that you'll want to import. Now I've already downloaded a copy of it on my desktop. I've got it actually right here. And if I open this up, you'll see it just looks like a bunch of gobbledygook. But what it does is that it's got a bunch of test data in order to import into WordPress. So let's go back over here. We can close that window now. What I'll do is I'll go to Tools, Import, click Install Now for the WordPress importer. And then I'll run the importer. And then as I'm importing, it will ask you a couple questions. You can assign authors if you want. You can pretty much just leave this as is. What it's going to do is that it's going to create a new user with this information, however, if you were importing like from another site, you could pick somebody else. The one thing that you do want to change though is that you want to check this where it says download and import file attachments. What that will do is it will download any attachments that are included in that XML, or that are referred to in that XML file, and install them into your local WordPress. Hit submit, and sometimes this takes a couple minutes. It's completed the installation. So now if I go to the posts, you see a bunch of posts. There's about 50 of them. I'll go to the the media library, and you see there's lots of media items. There's also pages. And then if I go and visit the site, I'll see like there's all this stuff. There's menu items, and this test data is basically for testing a theme out. And I just find it really useful because that way you can kind of see, what if you're going to be experimenting with full site editing. This way you'll have a bunch of extreme test case, because it basically show you like what does a block button look like, what does a cover block look like, and so that shows kind of the examples there. What a gallery looks like, and so forth. So you kind of get the idea. All right, the next step, go back to the dashboard, and I want to also install some developer tools. So what I'm going to do is go over here to plugins. You notice it has a plugin, that WordPress importer is a plugin, and so it's not automatically installed. Go to add new, and first one I'm going to type in would be debug bar. Install that. And I'm also going to install Query Monitor. And then health check. I haven't activated these yet. What I'm going to do is first I'll activate this one. Alright. This doesn't really do a whole lot, but I'm going to activate the debug bar. And so now you see over here there's a little thing that gives you some details. And then the query monitor gives you some more information over here. These are just kind of handy. If you're doing any sort of theme development, it will show any PHP errors or stuff that seems to be breaking. Okay, now I want to install some basic plugins. Right off the bat, I'm going to install Jetpack. Some people like Jetpack, some people don't. I've been using it for about 10 years, and it gives you a couple of nice little features that I think are worth it. And someday this thing will finish. By the way, you notice that I'm here and the debug is showing red. So if I click this, I can see what on earth is going on. Basically, there's a problem with the HTTP request, but I'm not going to really look into that right now. Okay, the next one, most of these you can find, like, they'll be recommended, but I know specifically what I'm looking for. Next one is WooCommerce. And, there's a lot of different alternatives out there. WooCommerce isn't the greatest thing, but it's for WordPress, it's the most popular. So I just want to get that installed. And yeah, I'm not quite sure what that problem is. Hopefully it's nothing. And the good thing is I'm just working on a local environment, so it doesn't really matter that much. Okay, the next one is going to be the events calendar. Install that now. So what this will basically do is it gives us enough, with Jetpack you get options for building forms and for creating portfolios. With WooCommerce you get the e-commerce functionality, and then the event calendar allows you to create events. So this will basically cover, I think, 90% of what most business and organizations need to do. Okay, let's go back to the plugins. Let's activate these one at a time. I'll start with Jetpack. Okay, that's done. Let's do WooCommerce, and it will probably show me, okay, this is what I thought it was going to do. Alright, so WooCommerce is going to ask me some questions, but I'm just going to skip it right now and hit no thanks. We'll get to that later, because right now all we want to do is just get the plugins installed and some test data. Go back to the plugins, and the last one is going to be events calendar. Hopefully this thing doesn't blow up like last time. Okay, good. Okay, let's skip. All right, good. One thing keep in mind is up here it says the event calendar is not yet supported for themes using full site editor. That I'm going to take them at their word, but I have actually experimented a little bit and it seems to work. They're probably referring to some short codes that they have, but as far as the actual event pages, they seem to work just fine. However, I would take them at their word. The cases that I'm going to be working with, it's pretty much we're just going to be using their event pages. We're not going to be messing around with short codes or blocks or anything like that. So I'll just dismiss that. Okay, now that we got WooCommerce installed, what I want to do is put some test data in there. So I'm going to go to the products, and I could install these manually, but actually what I'm going to do is import some test data. And I choose a file. Now, the information is actually included in the WooCommerce plugin. I don't know why they don't allow you to just select that, but there's a way of getting to it using Flywheel. So I'm going to select that new blueprint site that I have, and down here it says new blueprint. I can find it in the Finder. So I'm going to click this, and it's going to be inside App, Public, and then inside WP Content, and then since it's a plugin, it's under Plugins, and then under WooCommerce, and then you see this folder called Sample Data, and then all you got to do is select this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this over here, and that will update the browser window to pick the right ones. And the advanced options, you can ignore that. Hit continue. Let's just run it as is. Okay, it will install that. Or not install it, but import the files and set up some products, just like how the WordPress importer was setting up the posts and pages. Okay, there you go. Done. Let's view the products. And so now we have about 25, or it's actually 18 products. It set up some categories for us and some tags. I guess it doesn't set up any tags. It may not set up it has the attributes. Okay. But the thing is that you've got enough to go from. And so, for example, if I wanted to see what this looks like using a default theme, I can see right away. It's like, okay, this is what it looks like. It's actually not too bad. Actually, it looks pretty nice right out of the box. I got no complaints. Okay, so now what we've got is we've got a site that has a bunch of test data. It's got plenty of posts. It's got plenty of pages. It's got e-commerce products. It will eventually have events if I add some. So here's that events page, and this is what I was saying, is that it seemed to me it looks just fine. Ignore this. This looks ugly, and I think that's just because of how the theme looks. So we now have a site that we can pretty much test test anything with. So now I'm going to go back over to the local sites, and I'm going to right click New Blueprint, and I'm going to say Save As Blueprint. Now I could clone it, but I want to save it as a blueprint because let's say I take this new blueprint and I change it, make a bunch of changes. Then if I clone it later, it's going to be cloning with the changes. So what I want to do is I want to save as a blueprint. So I'm going to call this My New Blueprint. And click Save. Does its little thing. Okay, now it looks like nothing has changed because nothing actually has changed. We haven't created any new sites. But now let's create a brand new site. We're going to call this Brand New Site. And here in the options, now I'm going to select My New Blueprint. I'll click Create Site for Blueprint, and notice that it's importing. It's running the installation process a little bit differently. It didn't ask me any questions about like the server and stuff because it's using the blueprint instead of the instead of actually installing WordPress from scratch. Okay, now we'll go to the admin here. Type in the worst possible password. No, never save that. And so here we are. The domain is brandnewsite.local, but this is the new blueprint. It's got everything that I installed previously. It's got WooCommerce it's got all the data. If I go to the post, you'll see all that. If I go to media, all that stuff is still there. And so now I've got a site that's ready to go. And what's nice about it is that, I can make a bunch of changes. I can go to town with this one site and do whatever I want with it. And then if I ever need to start over, I've got this blueprint to pick from. So anyway, I just wanted to show you how you can do that, how you can create a blueprint using local.